It's a position many officers have been in before, and there's only a few split seconds to make a decision. We've seen the struggle between an officer and Rayshard Brooks in Atlanta, but this is where it gets controversial. Brooks was able to get the officer's taser, deploy it, then he ran away.
So now we have an intoxicated male in the community in possession of a police officer's taser. This is apparent that some level of action needs to take place.
Normally, from an officer's standpoint, the taser is not a deadly weapon, and they were trained to use it instead of their guns.
You can't have it both ways. That's what the training is all around the country. It's classified as a non-lethal weapon. So no way in the world should somebody be killed.
The laws are different around the country when it comes to the use of force. It's really left up to the officer's discretion on whether or not that officer feels in danger for his or her life or someone else's. Pix 11 talked with 4 law enforcement experts to get their opinion on what really constitutes a threat and the decision to use deadly force.
What is a threat?
A threat could be from the simplest thing to deadly physical force being imminently against them. But you've got to match that threat with that same response.
But was Brooks a threat running away, or was it something else?
You have somebody that is of a different complexion, which is African American or black men. They don't want to use a lesser degree of force. Officers get into these parameters as feeling embarrassed. I just tried to handcuff this guy. I just got into a squabble with this guy, and he got away from me.
Emily Galvin Almanza, executive director of Partners for Justice, says officers have too much power.
We've created a world in which the officer's judgment about whether someone is or is not a threat is paramount. So for an officer whose own implicit biases may lead him or her to deem a black person more of a threat than, say, someone who looks like me, we've created a world in which there is no accountability for officers who kill under those conditions.
Ever since the 1985 ruling in Tennessee versus Garner, it is against the law in many states for an officer to shoot a fleeing suspect in the back. Here in the city, the NYPD also follows that same rule. An NYPD officer should never shoot a suspect running away, even if that suspect has a gun, unless that suspect is shooting at the officer or at someone else. Nicole Johnson, Pix 11 News.